What up, what up, what up, what up? So, this is How to Invent. Or maybe not. This should have been how to not start a video without letting people know that you're shooting a video. Alright, so when you're inventing, it's you gotta wait for those keywords. This is one way, the keywords. There's got to be a better way to do this. Anytime you find yourself saying that or something on those lines of, yo, I hate this, why isn't there an easier way? Or why don't they have a tool? Or, yo, they should make a, but realize that the they is you, right? Then look it up. First, you might be saying to yourself, I'm never in those situations. Just help people do stuff or keep yourself busy. Keep yourself busy doing hands-on things, either tasks or work, or always give people a hand. Because you never know what type of situate ion you're going to find yourself in where those words come up by either you or somebody else. So then look it up. See if it exists. If it does exist, you have two choices. You can say, oh, okay, I'm going to go and grab that and make my job easier. Or you can say, hey, that sucks, and make a better version. If one does not exist, take whatever idea you have, even if you don't know what it's going to be, just take the idea and go forward with it 50 years into the future. Obviously, you can't go forward 50 years into the past. So go forward with it 50 years, see how it will be then, and make it now. Going back, if you decide to make a better version of something, it's not always possible. Sometimes that is the best thing there is. And even if it's not, they may have a patent on it and you can't do anything without their ions of permit. And that's the whole point of a patent. So now let's say your idea is doable. It doesn't exist. It's not out there. You remember or remind yourself that everything's created twice. The first place it's created is in your mind as an idea, right? Everything. Look around you right now. Like everything is an idea in somebody's mind, and then they drew it on paper or got somebody else to draw it on paper. That's your next step. You draw it on paper or you get somebody else to draw it on paper, and it has to fit your liking. You might need to do 20, 30 drawings, or maybe just one, depending. Then start to make it. Look at the materials that's needed to do it. Start building it. If you do not have the materials or the tools to mold the materials, then you take it to somebody who's a professional that can, and get it done. Get them to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, which means that they will not talk about it. Get your prototype. Then, well, you could do it before or after, to be honest with you. Some people want to get the patent first, then build the prototype, or you could build the prototype first, then get the patent. I would suggest getting the patent first because it's a race. It's about who patents it first, not who invented it first. The law used to be who invented it first, and then they changed it, and now it's who patents it first. And the whole inventor community was in uproar about that a few years ago, maybe like 2015 or something like that. 2016, I don't remember. I think it was 2015. around that time. So my advice would be to patent it first, then worry about getting your prototype. Once you've patented it, or you've paid for the patent, now here's the tricky part. This is how they keep the rich rich and the poor poor and the wealthy wealthy. When you're going to patent it, it costs money. And it also costs money to do an official patent search. Right? Unless you're 100% sure, like I was, that it does not exist, then you might want to get a patent search, and that could cost you about $1,000 or $2,000. See, now there's a trick. Nobody has $1,000 or $2,000 just to throw into an idea to find out that nope, you can't do it. That's like, okay, start again. Thanks for your money. And be careful, because lawyers out there will tell you, yeah, I like your idea. Oh, you don't want to do a patent search? Fine, give me 20 grand. Let's get your patent. You give them 20 grand, can't do your patent. 20 grand is your lawyers. I mean, they'll probably give some of it back, but not all of it. And I think if you had the 20 grand to spend, leave it with your lawyer and try again. So before I get too deep into that, back to how to invent. So the one way is, there's got to be a better way. Find those keywords. Another way is, and I kind of dabbled on that a little bit, is to go forward into the future. And if you don't have a good imagination, imagine at ions. To go forward into the future with anything that you look at, then watch sci-fi movies, science fiction, science fake. Watch fake science movies, because science fiction movies are all about the future. What's that movie called? Minority Report. That's a good example. Or Blade Runner. Or just anything, not necessarily future movies, but movies where like the whole setting takes place in the future. Everything's futuristic, right? Like Fifth Element. Movies where you look around and everything is just, wow, wow, they're gonna have that? Yeah. Are you gonna be that person to make that pick and choose? So you know what, I wanna bring that into reality and make it now. Like in Minority Report, they had cereal boxes that actually played the cartoon when you walked by, and you had to pick it up and smash it down. I can see that happening real soon. Nobody's done it yet. Yet. So yeah, look at science fiction movies. Pick something, bring it back. And another way is to start backwards. So think of the end result of what it is that you want to create. Don't even worry about how it looks. Just think about what it does, the end result, and then work your way back from there. Like when you're writing a rap, one of my tricks was I start with the punchline first, and then I'd find something to rhyme with the punchline, but also make it a punchline. So that way I would just rhyme punchline after punchline after punchline. Your punchline is what you created. So start backwards. Okay, now back to patents. It's not cheap. So do your research. Be careful if you search on the popular websites like Google and Yahoo, because if you search for something and it doesn't exist, the odds are you're going to see it within a few months, because they have the money to patent stuff real quick. And they get alerts if something is searched that doesn't exist. I've seen it. And don't talk about your ideas on email or any of that, because it's going to pop up somewhere else. Keep it old school. Keep it on paper. Keep it on a computer. Have phone calls on landlines. Like, that's how serious you have to be with it. And yeah, it's going to cost you anywhere from 20 grand per country. Sometimes less, sometimes more, depending on how complex your invented ion is. If you're gonna do it, spend the 20 grand. do the search. If you don't have a lot of money, but you're 100% positive, go ahead and do it. Skip the search, but search diligently yourself on every possible platform. And then before you go to the lawyer, then you might want to search Google, like the day before you go to the lawyer, because, you know, now make sure you go to the lawyer with your drawings and your explanations and all your details of what it does and how it works. Yeah. Do's and don'ts. Do not, for your first created ion, do not do something that is too technologically advanced, because then you'll have to do what I did and you'll have to wait 10 years for the rest of the world to catch up with your imagination and make stuff that even exists so that you can start making your prototype. Start simple with like the new flip-flop. Even that could be complicated. Like, you want to try to make something that's out of one material. All plastic, all wood, all steel, something like that. The new plate. You know what I mean? Or, I don't know. The new, whatever, simple, paperclip, something simple. If you're in it for the quick buck, like you want to just make something quick and just get money off of it, and it's cheap to make, go simple. Do not go expensive if that's your goal. If your goal is to help people and change the world and you don't care about the money, then make it as expensive as you want, because if it's a good enough idea, when it's a good enough idea, a company will come and buy it from you and boost it up and promote that, and you'll get to sit back and collect your whatever you worked out with that company. Yeah. Okay, now types of patents. There's a seed patent, like your actual seed put in the ground, grow it, whatever, like a big Monsanto tree. There's design patents, so nobody can design something that's your design, and there's utility patents. Why do I keep forgetting that name? There's utility patents, which means the usefulness of something. Like, I don't know, the way this pen cover clicks on. That could have been a utility patent for someone a long time ago. Not anymore, because a patent only lasts 20 years. So you have 20 years to cake on that as hard as possible. Get as much, whatever you want to call it, money, cheese, bread, cheddar, whatever. You have 20 years to do that. And then afterwards, it's a free-for-all. So, yeah, do the best that you can with 2 decades and create that intergenerational wealth for yourself. When you're getting a utility patent, there's a few ways to go about it. You can get a provisional patent, which is a placeholder. It's not a patent, but it basically lets the world know that in this country, for this year, this person technically has a patent because they filed for a provisional first. They do not own a patent, but you can't do their idea without coming to them. Because if they pay for it at the end of the year, you're going to owe them money anyways. And in the audio files, I called that the I don't care technique. Like, you know it's going to work, so you don't care what anybody says. You don't care about paying for the patent. Pay a few grand for the provisional instead of the 20 grand or the 10 grand or however much it costs. And then go out there and shop that for a year, because you know that someone's going to buy it. That's what a provisional patent does. It's a placeholder for a year. But then you still have to pay for your patent at the end of the year. Then there's just a regular utility patent. You have a year to pay for it. No. You got to pay for that up front. And then you have to pay yearly fees. Depending on the country, sometimes it's every other year or every year, and the prices are all different. And you have a year to add other countries to your utility patent. If you're going to add other countries, just do 1 or 2, at the most 3, because you're going to have to pay for each patent. Every time you make a change in one, you're going to have to make the change in all of them. And if you do them in different languages, you're going to have to pay the translation fees as well. So try to keep it all in the same language. They don't necessarily have to be close countries, but at least know that you're going to be paying the maintenance fees on each one of those as they come up. Also, patent co-op treaty. So if you're going to do more than 2 or 3 countries and you have the money, go for a PCT, a patent co-op treaty, which is basically saying it's a worldwide patent for all the countries that you can afford to pay for. So it's not a worldwide patent. But if you had the money, you could technically patent it in every country that's part of the patent co-op treaty. So not every country in the world is in this. I can't remember which ones aren't, but there's like 10 of them, maybe more, probably more. There's like, what, 200 countries maybe? Altogether, 205 or 209, I don't know, these technicalities, but there's over 100 countries in the patent co-op treaty, and new countries keep getting added every few years. So if you have the money, go for a patent co-op treaty. And that gives you an even longer time than a provisional patent does to pay for all those countries, because you're going to need more time. If you're an individual, if you're a business, you have the money, it doesn't matter. If you're an individual, save your money, because yeah, it's not cheap. And then change the world with your ideas. Literally, this invention of mine was an idea that I had since I was a child, and then I just kept waiting for someone else to do it. Got sick of waiting. Saw cell phones with cameras in it. I was convinced that it was going to happen, and then one day I just got sick of waiting and did it myself. I didn't know what I was doing. I also didn't know I was an inventor, because I had a whole book full of like cool ideas. I still have a lot of books full of cool ideas. And I don't mean comics, but I do mean comics also, because they're cool. Yeah, and then just started to make it. And there's where the waiting point came in, because there were no cameras that small. Well, there were, but they were made by the military, and they charged $8,000 for a 4K camera, battery, and transmitter that could fit on a penny in 2014. Yeah, so I knew that 4K was coming way before anybody else did, but I couldn't even, like, they gave me one unit. I guess they gave me the pity unit. I'm like, oh, here's a little newbie and trying to invent. It's like, thanks, guys. And yeah, it's hard. So nonetheless, I persevered. And then in 2013, I went to a worldwide invention competition at Alaska University of Business. Came in 6th, and they were like, you should have won, but you're black. And I'm like, I am not black, you are colorblind. And said, well, you're also from Canada, and you're not gonna win in Alaska, military central. Like, they're very patriotic here. And it's true, like, all the inventions that won were based on living in Alaska, so we know what that was. But then, you know, I think it was 2 months later, there's a university in Alaska that has a patent for mouth guards with electronics in it that can detect biosignatures. A few months later, there's another mouth guard that popped up, a different university, for a mouth guard that can detect if you're dehydrated. And it just kept happening. And now, 2020, there's maybe over 10 different companies putting electronics into mouth guards to do all kinds of different things, except for what mine does because of the patent. So it's kind of cool to watch the world change. As an inventor, you have the back road, the back door to what's about to come out, while the consumers are just there thinking that they're up to date. Like, you're not up to date with the newest anything. Like, no matter how much you spend, unless you're like part of the creative mind and team of society, and you're usually getting, you might be getting it first, but you're getting it years after it's been thought about. So that's it in a nutshell. I think I got everything. Yeah, mostly. Any more questions at all? Give me a shout. Check it out. I go into detail into different sections on travisablackman.com. Enjoy.